Hi everyone, my name's Pieta Valentine. I've written 2 books, The Resident's Voice from a Dementia Unit and The Resident's Rise from a Dementia Unit. Today I'm going to speak on low-level anxiety and how to bring it down to no-level anxiety, getting that, shift right down. And in particular, I'm going to focus on that aspect which gives a lot of anxiety in a dementia unit, and that is noise. Noise is one of the biggest provocations of stress and anxiety in a dementia unit, and often so underrated in terms of its effect. So I'm going to, focus on this aspect in this video. Okay, so there was one, and again, it's always looking at the individual and where their anxiety comes from, and working on that and finding practical solutions to be able to address it and de-escalate it with efforts from all parties. So one has to be observant and take an interest and learn from experiences, both from your own experience, from other observing and witnessing other relatives' experiences at the unit, asking them their experiences, and going from these experiences in the videos as well. So you'll be able to pick up this arsenal of this library of information that you will be able to apply. Okay, so low-level anxiety. There was this one lady at the unit. She was a school teacher. So many are school teachers. That's why I'm saying school teacher, because school teachers and nurses are, it seemed to me when I was working at the dementia unit, so many were school teachers and nurses. Anyway, this woman was a school teacher, and she was bright, articulate, and a good wit, always engaged, always reading. And she loved to watch the Netflix Crown, Queen Elizabeth, and she could read the subtitles easily. But she used to get really anxious and, a little bit aggro with it when there was too much noise in the background and she couldn't hear, And she couldn't see very well either, because her glasses were a bit, dated. They needed to have new lenses put in them, and what with not being able to hear very well or see very well, it was really stressful because she wanted to understand the Crown, but couldn't sort of get it, because she couldn't read it properly or see it properly. Anyway, really the best solution, what I did was I just got a chair and I just brought her right up to about 1 meter in front of the TV. Like most people, but way back, in the U shape, 3-4 meters away. You're really meant to do that because wanderers need to have room to be able to walk around, which is also another distraction when you're watching the TV and you're focused on the program. But still, this is just another thing you have to accommodate. But anyway, when I was there, what I did, I just stood there by the TV. I pushed the chair right up close, so she was right up to the TV. She could just look right up, read it, fabulous, got the lot. And I'd just stand there. And if wanderers came, I'd just sort of, redirect them on. And this woman was able to have the most fantastic experience because she could read it. We cleaned the glasses as well and made sure that they were fitting properly. Got the hearing aids in so she could hear a little bit, everything on board. She could see the Crown and she was happy. And so her stress levels went right down. Whereas before she was sitting back in the group and she was, yelling out, "I can't see, get out of the way," to the wanderers, and "I can't hear, stop screaming," and all this. But because of the solution of pushing her up close, cleaning the glasses, and her being able to peer up and be right at the subtitles, reading them, that lessened her anxiety. So that was just one example. Now there's another lady who, she only had anxiety around noise. It's really interesting. It was really interesting because other than that, she was a very calm, positive, pleasant person. And it was because of her that I became aware how much of a factor noise can cause anxiety in a unit, because she had every reason to be anxious. Her husband had actually just died. They were a very close, devoted couple. And when he died, and I was witness to the son telling her that he had died, she was quite even about it, you know, non-emotional. I mean, she recognized, oh, you know, she recognized he had died, but it was pretty much like, oh, well, I mean, there was little response, put it that way. She didn't burst into tears or anything like that. She accepted it. I mean, I wasn't witness to the whole story, but she accepted it. And in the group, she just continued on really pretty much as if he wasn't there, which was quite astounding. He used to come over 3 hours every morning to be with her. He did get a bit angry at times, I have to admit. And every time, if I asked him a question in the workshops, he'd say, I haven't got dementia, don't ask me any questions. So I think he was a bit difficult to sort of be with. But she was lovely to him, and he was devoted to her, etc. He passed on. Her anxiety level didn't change. But when the noise in the unit escalated, her anxiety absolutely went up, to the degree that sometimes, against her nature, she would yell out, shut up, which was, you know, meant that she'd been provoked to a very high degree. Nothing else provoked her to that level. So noise, this constant noise, you know, especially residents screaming and shouting, and that can be all day sometimes. It's just incessant, and it's just so hard to stop. You know, you can ask them to stop, but that certainly doesn't mean that they will. You can redirect them up the corridor, but then they'll just come back. So, you know, that's why I want to mention about noise and hearing aids, because I think for some people that are a bit deaf, they have a better time of it, you know, because they don't hear the noise the same. Whereas if you put in hearing aids in a loud dementia unit, all you're doing is amplifying the noise for the person to hear. So that's why I think you really need to think about hearing aids. And I think one solution is to just have the nurses keep the hearing aids in the back of the nurses' station. And when you come and visit or take mum out, get her to put the hearing aids in then so she can hear you. But for day to day, I think sometimes it's better not to have the hearing aids, because residents adjust to be able to communicate with each other however they do, you know, with or without hearing aids. They don't seem to be too bothered, you know, whether the other person's deaf or not. You hardly ever hear them say, I can't hear you, or what are you saying? They'll just use gestures, or, you know, have a way of speaking and communicating that they can understand each other. It's usually the relatives coming in that get bothered with the person being deaf, rather than the other residents being bothered with them being deaf. So for that reason, to reduce the impact of noise provocation, I think it's worth considering just having the hearing aids on when mum goes out. And ask mum too, you know, about, you know, go through your mother with all this about how they're finding the noise at the unit. Is it aggravating? Would she prefer to have no hearing aids in the day? She may well say, yes, that gives me a bit of a break. So that's one way that you can work it through. So noise is a real factor. So to reduce the noise and help the person who's, you know, got that moderate level anxiety from the noise, take them out for the day, spend some quiet time in the room, spend time on the veranda, respite. Give them some respite from the noise, take them to an area where there isn't the noise. Even if they can just get an hour or two of calmness, that gives them strength to be able to manage, you know, the next 4 or 5 hours of it, or whatever it's going to be. So these are the things that really need to be considered in terms of stress. And if you can remove the stress, if noise is the stress, then anxiety will go from low to no or moderate, from low level to no level, or moderate level to low level or no level, if noise is the activator, you know. If the person calms right down when there's no noise, whereas before there was noise, then that will be an obvious scenario that it was the noise activating it, which it often is. So that's just a big consideration for you to bring in to helping people with anxiety and their anxiety levels, and settling their anxiety levels at least, you know, a good 30, 40, even 50% if you can. Thank you for your subscriptions and, you know, subscribing, sorry. subscribing and likes and interests. Thanks.